Okay, guys, so we're gonna go over my primary source, which is King John of England and the Jews. So pretty much this is a charter for the Jews of England created by King John, that was in development beginning with King Henry II. And you'll understand this a little further on. What this document has done is given liberation to the Jews. So the objective here is to help everyone develop an understanding of what my primary source is. So hopefully we can do that throughout the presentation. So the thesis of my primary source is found below, which was written by the author. This is probably a confirmation of the liberty originally granted by Henry II at the beginning of his reign. So again, I found this right from the text. It was written from the author again, and I pretty much agree with him, and I believe that this is the thesis of the text. So this is my analysis and interpretation. This primary source is a charter. It defines the rights and privileges of the Jews. I think that this charter is, for the most part, very fair. It grants the liberation to the Jews and provides law equal to any Christian. I do not see any resentment or ill feelings towards the Jews. This charter was made to define the equal rights of the Jews. So, fact and opinion. The facts of the charter are the written laws. The primary source begins with the section Charter of the Jews of England. As you go down the charter, the laws are written in Roman numerals, with each numeral being a new law. So on the side, I have two examples of the law. I'm just going to read the first one. So I'll begin. Number 2, if any dispute arises between a Christian and a Jew, he who summons the other to answer his complaint should have witnesses, viz. A lawful Christian and a lawful Jew. And if a Jew has a writ about his complaint, the writ shall be a witness for him. And if a Christian have a complaint against a Jew, let it be judged by peers of the Jew. So the opinion of the text could be the viewpoint that the charter is just a confirmation of liberation and that liberty of the Jews of England began before King John. So it was stated by the author that King Henry II, or even back to King Henry I, that's where liberation began for the Jews. Author's point of view versus others. So I believe that people will agree with the author that this is a confirmation of the liberty of the Jews. Liberation doesn't happen overnight, and a charter is not produced in a quick amount of time. So another opinion or an argument with the author would be if somebody disagreed that liberation was originally granted by King Henry II. That was stated by the author, and people can argue that a written liberation is where freedom begins. That perhaps if a law is not in writing, it is not real, and the Jews are not liberated until a charter is made. So going into the time period that this charter was made, this source was written in the 13th century. It was written in the medieval period or the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages is the time period of the collapse of the Roman Empire with the transition into the Renaissance. Relating the primary source to historical context. So shortly after this primary source was written, which was written in 1201, the Magna Carta, which was written in 1215, was created. The Magna Carta is known as the Great Charter, which is one of the most important documents in history because it established the principle that everyone is subjected to the law, even if you're the king, and it guarantees everyone the right as an individual, the right to justice, and the right to fair trial. So this charter applies to everyone, and I believe that the Magna Carta reinforces and protects the charter of King John and the Jews, providing great meaning to it as well. So the connection to class I have is the Code of Hammurabi. This charter reminded me of the Code of Hammurabi, how it was written in rules or laws. The Code of Hammurabi is another collection of laws. The only thing is that King John and the Jews is fair, it's reasonable, and for justice, rather than how the Hammurabi, I don't know how to pronounce it, being put to death for like eating anything, or like just, you could be eating a French fry and you're put to death. So an example of the Hammurabi I'm going to read is number 11. If the owner do not bring witnesses to identify the lost article, he is an evildoer. He has traduced and shall be put to death, which you can see is pretty unreasonable. So the author's audience. I feel that the audience can be anybody who's doing research on liberation of Jews in history. This source is documented or written liberation of the Jews of England and Normandy. It is a perfect source to use, for it's a primary source and has the laws that liberate the Jews of this time. So key points of the primary source are pretty much the outline of the primary source. It can be divided into 3 parts. So the first part would be Charter of the Jews of England, which are laws for the rights of the Jews itself. The second part is Confirmation of the Jews of their liberty, which is the law that refers to our crown, which I believe to be the government, the king, or the justice system, and how they handle criminal or overt deeds committed by the government to the Jews, which they do hold investigation to. And for the most part, it sounds fair, especially for its time. The third part is price of the charters, which states the amount paid by the Jews to the king, which was 4 marks. I'm not sure what currency that is, but I'm pretty sure it's, or actually I don't know the amount of what it is. But I was kind of surprised that for this charter to be made, that there was an exchange of payment. Okay guys, so yes, we made it to the last slide. I am so excited to just go over this last slide. But anyways, pretty much what I have on the side is the family tree of King John, and some of the relatives he has. So circled in the red is our main guy, King John, and he's who we're referring to in the primary source. In the indigo, I have underlined King Henry II, which is the father of King John. In the turquoise color, I have highlighted King Henry I, which is either the grandfather or the great-grandfather. In the primary source, it mentions great-grandfather, but here, as you see in the family tree, it's his grandfather. And then Richard I, I didn't highlight at all, is his brother, but they do mention him once. They compare this charter, the King John and the Jews, with the charter of Richard I. But yes, thank you guys. This concludes my presentation, and yes, I appreciate you all. Thank you.
We need the money.